Okay, so evil Smiley. So this act is a short act, and this is about amplification of the message, amplification of the story. That is about the social action campaign component. And from where I sit and do this kind of work, it's never divorced from the story. I'm not sure if everyone loves that approach, but it's an approach I've used a great deal. But amplified community and a public affairs approach to the social issues is not just about the campaign. The important piece that I think is sometimes overlooked in the rhetoric around this kind of idea is the idea that it's not enough to create the social action campaign around it. You have to do a great deal of formative research and developing research in advance to understand where is the social issue in the first place, right? What is the media discourse around the issue? What is public opinion around the issue? I like to call these, in my work that I do with participant media and some other folks, I call these actionable opportunities. And identifying actionable opportunities is not archival research simply for the sake of saying that you checked the box and did a landscape and you kind of have a sense of what's going on. Actionable opportunities means that you do enough of the right research in advance that you understand exactly where you will be able to motivate that issue through the story and the campaign. And there are many projects that have used this kind of thinking pretty successfully, and I just want to talk about a couple. And again, I really could do, I teach on this stuff, right? So I could do 4 hours just on this topic, but we'll try to do the 10-second version. So understanding the issue goals, understanding the influencers, understanding who the natural amplifiers are, understanding who your allies in the mission are, and importantly, understanding what the issue is. I can't emphasize that enough. I see all kinds of mistakes in that area. Let me just give one example, not from anybody's past project, but for something that I like to say in some other talks. So let's say you're creating a project about fracking. Okay, and I'm not going to take a position on fracking today, by the way. So if you're doing a project on fracking and you say, well, I want to motivate people to do something, I'm going to motivate people to call their member of Congress. So if you had done that 5 years ago, in 2010, that would have failed. And the reason that would have failed, and if you had not done archival research and done this kind of actionable opportunities research, it's because if you had uncovered public opinion data, which exists, and there's a great piece of research from USC, actually from 2010, that shows that 70% of the American public did not even know what that meant in 2010. And so a fracking project in 2010 would have been right to say, our goal is simply to build awareness. Right? And so I say that as a way, for many of you who are thinking about projects or have been in the seat and thinking about what kind of action you're going to have around your social issue, this is really crucial, right? This can mean the difference between success or not success. And it's appropriate when occasionally your objective can be just make people think about it, right? If you're saying, I want to make people think about it, and then you do the appropriate evaluation to see, are people thinking about it, and what kind of people are thinking about it, and what might they be primed to do the next time we tell them to think about it, right? That's more effective than saying we wanted people to call their member of Congress. The member of Congress is going to say, nobody even knows what this means yet, right? Sorry, it was kind of a long tangent. Let me get to the evil Smiley part. I know you're all waiting on the edge of your seats. Okay. So this is evil Smiley. My kids call him the scary man with 8 arms. This project is 10 years old, and I can't believe it. Where did that go? 10 years, unbelievable, 2005. And let me tell you about how this relates to this idea, even though it's now retro, because it's 10 years old. So in 2004, if you read the news about Walmart, it was not good. So in 2004, though, media coverage of Walmart being a not great corporate citizen was pretty heavy. So a lot of stories about human rights abuses, about worker compensation, about environmental contamination. A lot of people don't think about that when they think about Walmart. Shutting down businesses around the country, what was happening to Main Street. And the reason that's important, even if you didn't care so much about Walmart, the reason that's important and is still important today is because Walmart is the #1 company in the world. And so as the loss leader in the race to the bottom, we should care how Walmart conducts itself, right? On behalf of its workers, X million people around the world, on behalf of economies around the world. And so there were a group of filmmakers who got together, led by Robert Greenwald of Brave New Films, and said, we should make a movie about this, and we think we have identified the tippable opportunity, the actionable opportunities around this issue. And it turns out, in the case of Walmart, it was truly, at the end of 2004, beginning of 2005, when we started to make the movie, it was the right moment for that story. And so it turns out that there were so many issues to cover that we covered all of them. We covered so many stories. And the other piece in here about amplified community, that is really the big takeaway of this project for me, looking back, is about a year and a half before we were able to use Facebook and social media and to activate online around these issues, this project was able to mobilize about 5,000 screenings around the country. We had a big week of action called Walmart Week that dealt with different themes. We would call them verticals today, right? Different topical areas: human rights, labor, environmental contamination. And but while we were making the movie, we were building that community, right? So we were working with interest groups all along the way to help point us to stories, to act as sources for us to follow up. And so by the time the movie was ready, there was this deep invested community that was ready to use the project and had already thought about how it was going to use it for a tool. They had a year to develop their own grassroots strategies. And so what we did, which is, again, this is now a retro example, but it's one that I've used in a lot of different projects since then. We actually cut, and this was Robert's idea. I definitely don't want to appear to be taking credit. It was a group effort, but Robert's idea was to cut many versions of the movie by verticals, by topic area. And so we had a 20-minute cut for environmental groups, we had a 20-minute cut for human rights folks, 20 minutes cut for the labor unions, many other groups that Louisa could help me remember that I may have forgotten by now. A really effective strategy, because they didn't, even though we were doing the grassroots screenings, they didn't all need the feature film, right? They needed the 20 minutes to activate their community or their policy change or whatever it is that they were up to. So always a good strategy to this day, and it has a lot to do with a dual influencer strategy, right? So who do you want to use this as a tool? And then the popular strategy, the general audience, what do you want them to do and feel and think? Okay, so that's that example. Oh, and I should say, so what happened with Evil Smiley? It's the best part. Well, the logo changed, for one. Well, I don't know if you all remember, but the logo was a big smiley face, of course, thus Evil Smiley. It is now a starburst without a face. But there was a big communication campaign from Walmart that was really interesting. But a number of things changed over the years. So employee benefits changed, employee health care changed, a massive program to green its distribution process, et cetera, et cetera. So a number of structural changes.